Emperor Vexthorn heard the screaming from 3 corridors away. He abandoned the council meeting mid-sentence and ran, his heart clenching with familiar dread. Prince Kyrex was having another episode. By the time Vex reached the royal chambers, a crowd of servants stood helplessly outside the doors. Through the crystalline walls, he could see his 7-year-old son in the throes of a meltdown, wings flailing, small body rigid, screaming at a pitch that made the windows vibrate. The draconic doctors called it sensory integration disorder. The court whispered broken and unfit to rule. Vex called a heartbreak. His brilliant, gentle son, trapped in a world that was too loud, too bright, too much. Move. Vex pushed through the servants, prepared to do what he always did. Hold Kai through the storm, whisper reassurances his son couldn't hear, and wonder if he was failing as a father. Then he saw her. Sarah Mitchell, the new human maid hired last month, sat on the floor 3 feet from Kai. She wasn't touching him. She learned quickly that touch made it worse during episodes. Instead, she had dimmed the lights to almost nothing. She closed the heavy curtains, blocking out the sun, and she was humming. Not just any humming. A low, rhythmic pattern, the same 4 notes repeating endlessly. Simple, predictable, steady as a heartbeat. Kai's screaming had reduced to whimpers. His wings stopped thrashing. Slowly, so slowly, his rigid body began to relax. Sarah kept humming, her voice never wavering. She picked up a small silk cloth and began folding it in precise, repetitive movements. Fold, unfold, fold, unfold. The same motion, over and over. Kai's golden eyes locked onto the cloth. His breathing steadied. "That's it," Sarah whispered, still maintaining the pattern. "You're safe. Nothing has to change. Same song, same movement. I'm right here." 5 minutes later, Kai crawled into her lap, curling against her like he used to curl against his late mother. Sarah wrapped her arms around him gently, still humming, still rocking in that same steady rhythm. Vex stood frozen in the doorway, something tight and painful lodging in his chest. "Ow," he asked hoarsely. Sarah looked up, seeming to notice him for the first time. She didn't jump or bow or apologize for the presumption of holding a prince. She just smiled softly. "My little brother has autism, Your Majesty. I grew up learning what helps." She stroked Kai's head scales carefully. "The doctors here keep trying to fix him, but he doesn't need fixing. He just needs the world to be a little gentler. The tutors say he cannot learn, that he will never rule. The tutors are idiots." Sarah's bluntness would have been treason from anyone else. "He's brilliant. He memorized the entire star chart system in 2 days. He can calculate hyperspace trajectories in his head. He just can't do it while someone's shouting at him or the lights are flickering or too many people are staring." Vex moved closer, sitting on the floor beside them. Kai peeked at him from Sarah's arms, but didn't pull away. A miracle in itself. "What else does he need?" Vex asked quietly. "Consistency, routine, warning before transitions, sensory breaks, weighted blankets for pressure stimulation." Sarah met his eyes, and people who understand that different doesn't mean broken. Over the following weeks, Vex found himself watching Sarah constantly. The way she anticipated Kai's needs before he melted down. How she created visual schedules so he knew what came next. The gentle patience she showed when his son needed the same story repeated 15 times. More than that, he watched how she spoke to Kai, not as a burden or a tragedy, but as a brilliant boy who experienced the world differently. "What do you think about the treaty, Kai?" she asked one afternoon, showing him the proposal documents in a quiet room. "Too many words," Kai said, stimming with a smooth stone she'd given him. "Fair. Want me to summarize? In 3 bullet points?" "Yes, please." Vex, listening from the doorway, realized his advisors had never thought to simply ask his son what format he needed. They just declared him incapable. One evening, Vex found Sarah in the garden with Kai, both lying on their backs watching the stars. "That one's Arcturus," Kai said, pointing, 37 light years away. "Orange giant. Surface temperature 4,000 Kelvin. You're so smart," Sarah said warmly. "Tell me another." Vex's breath caught. He couldn't remember the last time someone had celebrated Kai's intelligence instead of mourning his differences. "Miss Sarah," he said, stepping into the garden. "May I speak with you?" She stood, bowing respectfully, but her hand stayed on Kai's shoulder. "Protective, Your Majesty, you have changed everything in this palace. My son smiles now. He learns. He thrives." Vex's voice rough with emotion. "I've spent years searching for specialists who could help him, and a human Maid accomplished in weeks what they could not in years. I just listened to him, Your Majesty. That's all. No, you saw him, truly saw him, not as a problem to fix, but as a person to understand." Vex took a breath, his heart's pounding. "I have a proposition." Sarah waited, curious. "Be his governess, not his maid, his teacher, his advocate, his guide." He paused. "And, if you would permit, let me learn from you as well. How to be the father he needs." Sarah smiled, something bright and genuine. "I'd be honored, Your Majesty." Kai jumped up excitedly. "Does this mean Sarah stays?" "Yes," Vex said, unable to stop his own smile. "Sarah stays." As he watched his son hug the human woman who'd given him back his childhood, Vex felt something he hadn't felt since his wife died. Hope, and perhaps, just perhaps, the stirring of something more. Because Sarah Mitchell hadn't just seen his son. She'd seen him too. Not as an emperor, but as a father desperately wanting to do right by his child. And that changed everything.